All right, let's get this party started. Record. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thursday, April 23rd. Markets are slightly down from where we were yesterday, from where we closed. Closed up in the 170s. Now we're down in the 150s, and this is kind of an area where the markets found support yesterday during the U.S. session. This is also the point of control. And center of the distribution from Monday, which has been a pretty crucial balance area that we've been talking about the last couple of days. So I would suspect that 140s, 137, 135, somewhere down in this range on the weekly distribution, we're going to find some support. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The distribution for this week, we've now fallen back into value for the week. So there could just be a lot of chop within this range. You see, we got this low volume area here on the weekly distribution at 145. That can be an area of support for today. So we'll see what happens when the market comes down to test these areas, if it comes down to test these areas. We got economic news out this morning at 9:45. The flash PMI numbers that will have an effect on markets. So no positions or open trades during that time. Do not want to trade going into that, and then want to wait at least a couple of minutes after that news release to think about engaging the markets and getting into a position. News flow this morning pretty quiet. Trump saying he's going to blow up ships to try to lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz. That's really no surprise. They're still planning on talking tomorrow, I think, war negotiations, but whether or not anything comes of that, I do not know. So let's see what the market gives us today, where this distribution kind of ends up. We might just find balance here around 150, and this just might be a chop session back and forth, just based off of where we've been and where we've come from. Because all of last week we were talking about the market needs to find balance on this run up. We had this consistent just run up with the market unable to really balance. You kind of had a balance range here, but now you started to really find balance. These are very tight ranges that were formed in the distributions, which means buyers and sellers are agreeing to prices right here. So if your longer term thesis is bullish, this is constructive towards that thesis, right? Because the market will use this as essentially a platform to launch from going forward. So at the open, how much any contracts in the first minute? Only 12,000 contracts in the first minute, kind of light. Volume is lifting price. Again, we're in the weekly value area. So there's a potential for chop today. And we're also kind of in like this balanced range. Like we didn't really do the price discovery mode that we were talking about yesterday, right? Given what happened here on Tuesday, where the market dipped down, tested last week's gapped range, held it, and then we formed balance again. We had balance, tested the lower range, and then found balance again. The thesis longer term, I still think holds that you do price discovery, and we're going to look up in the 200s and see what's available in liquidity up there. I don't really see the reason to come back down and revisit 130 and below. I really don't. We just did that discovery on Tuesday. And so now I think the market wants to find somewhere new. We didn't find any balance in that gaps range. We found balance higher at 140 on Monday. Found balance yesterday at 158 in a pretty tight distribution. So the bullish theme remains, but we need order flow, obviously, to confirm that. So the volume coming in at 156 is suppressing price. No large transactions since the cash open. There was no transactions even on the open. So no new orders. Yeah, the imbalance was plus 27 million. I mean, that means absolutely nothing. That is so insignificant. So I really don't plan to do anything until at least 9:45, until we get these PMI numbers this morning. I mean, unless the situation is so compelling that I just have to jump into a trade and take a position. For now, we'll let the economic news come out, and then we'll let that dictate what it is that we want to do for the morning. So bullish thesis overall, but we want the order flow to confirm it. We want to be patient, wait for the PMI numbers to come out. And we'll go from there. We're not quickly rejecting these highs at 157. You're getting flashes of some absorption up here. The volume that's coming in is suppressing price, but it wasn't a super quick rejection either. No signs of held absorption yet. Yeah, I got to imagine the markets are going to be very quiet and in a tight range until the PMI numbers come out this morning, or unless there's some other headlines or news flow that comes out related to what's going on with Iran. So volume coming in is trying to lift price. Still no large transactions over 100 contracts as of yet. Very tight range. Yeah, we're right in the balance area from yesterday and right in the balanced area for the week now. There could just be chop back and forth and balance with not a whole lot of directional movement. And that type of environment favors the mean reversion trades and not the imbalance continuation type trend days. But this is all speculation at the moment. And that's what the markets do. They encourage your speculation. Yeah, I mean, looking at the TPO chart, it just seems bullish to me. I mean, the test lower didn't hold. We found balance in this 140 to 160 range. So bullish thesis remains. But let's just be patient. It's 9:35 already. You got 10 minutes until the news comes out, so we're not going to take a position now. And there's nothing really going on where we need to. Some flashes of buy side absorption there. But no absorption that's hold or held yet. Still no large transactions. Don't think they're going to come or do anything until 9:45. Then maybe they'll start thinking about taking positions or exiting positions for the week. Fairly tight range and for the entire week in general. Had a pretty good run up last week, and now the market is just kind of sideways consolidating, balancing out. Participants kind of agree to this price area, so they're willing to transact back and forth here. And trying to make a test of these 157 highs. Volume that came in here last time suppressed price, so let's see if we still get the same reaction. Right now it's trying to hold price up. But all this is insignificant right now until the PMI at 9:45. So this is just commentary, practice. This information isn't giving us really anything that we can transact on. So again, some seller absorption. Volume's trying to lift price here at the highs. Trump on Truth Social. Iran is having a very hard time figuring out who their leader is. Okay. Keep killing their leaders. Yeah, I got to imagine it's going to be hard to find who your leader is. Just hanging out here at the highs, 938, 945 PMI numbers, and not doing anything, just sitting still, waiting. Just waiting and chilling. Nothing to do. Nothing to do. Yeah, I'm getting a pretty decent absorption up here at 157, 150. I mean, that's a decent number. But I mean, the volume that's coming in here is not really pushing down price. Like it's kind of holding price up. Yeah, honestly, I would have liked the market to have gone lower to establish a low. Right, I think maybe like just above 140 or around 140, where the point of control and balance was from Monday. And then also it would be the bottom of the distribution from yesterday. And then the top of the value area from Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah, it's an overlapping point of interest. But just slowly trying to grind higher. The volume that's coming in is still trying to lift price. Yeah, but you're not going to really defend this before the PMI release at 9:45, are you? Probably not. These are weak moves. But you had some volume coming in there at the top of the value area and just quickly reject price out of the value area. It's pretty bullish. And you've kind of broken the absorption number. So seems bullish at the moment. Order flow is bullish. Volume is lifting price. You're breaking any negative absorption. No institutional orders though. Who knows? Maybe all these people have a run on the PMI numbers and are just getting in now. It's gonna be so bullish. Speculation. So we just sit here with our arms crossed, wait until 9:45 PMI numbers. Nothing to do at the moment. Bullish order flows, lift in price. We still have a bullish thesis for the week. But we got to wait until this news comes out and see what happens with the market and see if we get any good levels to trade from. Just want to be patient, wait for the good spots. The trades start working, load up. And trades don't work, bail. Pretty easy. So big buy at 162 for 122 contracts, right at the highs of the swing. So we'll see if we can hold 162. Yep, all the volume still continues to lift price here. Drifting up out of value on the weekly distribution. Above 165 is a little bit of a low volume area here. Might get some seller resistance here. All right, this formed yesterday and it was tested multiple times. All right, yep. And then we broke above it late in the afternoon and now we're back below it. So this could be a pretty key point of interest up here. 163 area, 163 to 165, I would say. Let's see if you get some sellers jumping in, holding these swing lows. I mean, but nothing in this order flow is telling you right now to be bearish. Absolutely nothing. You're even getting absorption on the buy side here. All the volume is just lifting price here. All the volume that's coming in here at 162, it still just continues to lift price. So if you're thinking you were going to short the top of the value area, I don't think there's anything here for you just yet. But the news that comes out in about a minute and 30 seconds is going to change all of that. And you still have the large buy at 162. So that's where the one large transaction has occurred this morning. You got to imagine they're waiting until 9:45 until anything else comes in. We'll see if 9:45 brings in some more liquidity. Yeah, book is thinned. It's about half the liquidity. So they do expect some volatility coming with this release. Keep the news open. 10 seconds. All right, news release. All right, so I'll check Forex Factory, see if they have the print yet. 54 on manufacturing, which is a beat. And then also a beat on services. So potentially a bullish news flow, but markets can react kind of both ways to news events. So just worth noting, but we're not going to do anything with it. And so the volume coming in is attempted to push down price. I would like to see potentially for a bullish trade, for a long trade, us to come down and test the value area and reject this. Volume coming in here is still supporting price. Let's see if any large transactions coming in support this move higher. Because I would like, if this potentially is going to be a trend price discovery day to the upside, right? Because that's what our thesis is, that eventually we're going to do a little price discovery, move higher into the 200s. All right, volume coming in, still lifting price, bullish. Top of the range this week is 172. So we're not far from the top of the range for the week. Still nothing in terms of large transactions. You're not getting a significant break of this upper distribution here. If this was like a good trend break, you get a clean break, a lot of volume built very quickly, lots of rotations, and then another break. I'm not getting long here at 164. This is a very precarious week long. I want better structure to trade from, which would be 159, 160, somewhere in here. Yeah, I definitely do not like taking a long up here. You got the volume that's coming in up here is kind of holding things down a little bit. Like, haha, JK. As we push things higher. Like, you're not adding a ton of volume to the edges of this distribution, right? Where you're kind of just fishing a little bit. You're looking for liquidity to the upside. But I don't get the impression like this is a big bullish initiative here. Though it could just slowly grind higher and not give you any structure to trade from. So nice little pop there. Volume lift in price, still no large transactions. All right, for a move like this, I would figure if some large institutions would be involved. with some size. They're not. So absolutely no plans on shorting this whatsoever. I'm really only considering longs, I think, at this moment. Just based off what this order flow is, based off the long-term auction theory thesis. So unless some news flow comes out or I see a significant change in the order flow, yeah, I don't really want to consider a sell. But you got some bearish order flow up there at 169. All that volume came in, just suppressed price down. So some size at 166 and a quarter. So I don't necessarily like marking these large transactions on my chart because it's so time consuming. You'll see what happens here at 164. This is the top of the value range from the week. We get strong volume coming in here and a strong quick rejection out. All right, so now you've had some sellers at 165 and 166. That was that little snap down. Some large size came in on the sell side and hit the bid. 165.50 and 166. Yeah, see, I want to draw a line and I'm not paying attention. See, I can't draw these lines. It takes up too much of my time. So sellers 165, 166 right here. Or is a buyer at 166.25 and a seller at 162. Volume came in, lifts price. That's a pretty big downdraft right there. That's a pretty big snap. So now I want it to play out a little bit more. I mean, if you're going to trend this in any bullish manner, like getting a snap like that, I don't think happens. But I do like it came down to this 159 area that we're talking about, and then the volume came in and lifted price. But I think now if you get above this region and you hold this region, that's pretty bullish because this is where the seller snapped it right here. All this volume that's right here, this is where they snapped it. So it's very obvious that we're getting some rotations right here and some resistance right here. And this isn't a good long here. Then some buyer absorption, right? But you're running into all these sellers right here at 165. No more size coming in since this drop right here. Yeah, potentially this could just balance today. All right, this is seller volume up here. And now the value area is shifted. It's all the time that we spend up towards the highs. Yeah, it's kind of a It's a normalized distribution for sure. It's a normal shape. All right, so we're gonna be trading back towards like the center of the distribution. And if the range is 171 down to 150, I mean, like this is somewhere in the middle of the distribution. Even though this is the point of control based off volume, like the middle mean of the distribution is here, 162. And volume coming in, trying to lift price. You're just kind of banging around here, the POC. Want to be patient with this. Because I'm not getting the impression that this is going to be a trend day. The distributions, I don't think would look like this. All right, we're not holding the low volume areas on the retests. That's what trends do. Like if you came up, trended this up, came back down, held 164 and advanced farther, that's more trendish. But the fact you broke through that, are struggling now around that area, like we're kind of just filling in the volume here. Low volume areas within value tend to get filled in a little bit. I mean, 267 absorption, that's a pretty big number. It's not ginormous. Maybe if we come down here in this low volume area and see more volume come in and lift price, I mean, maybe we make a run of the highs again. This not a big fan of that trade, especially if we're just doing a normalized distribution today, because now you're trading right within the middle of value, looking to move out of value. If you're completely wrong on the distribution shape, you're going to be in trouble on that trade real quick. Right? Because the normalized distributions, price just bangs around in value. It barely makes it out of value and it just bangs around. There's a lot of volatility, no directional move. And you want to do a mean reversion trade back into value. All right, now if we're hypothesizing like, oh, let's get long right here in the middle of value where potentially we could just be banging around and looking for a run of the high. It's like taking an imbalanced continuation trade in the middle of balance. So it doesn't really align with what we're looking at here. No news flow since 9:45. PMI numbers. So another seller at 163.5. So we've had sellers at 165.5, 166, and now 163.50. So this is your sell cluster right here, 163 up to 166. So if you can't hold below that, right, we come out and break through that. Yeah, I mean, that's potentially fuel for a long. People trapped with size. But this order flow here around 162 that you're seeing right now isn't very bullish at the moment because the volume that's coming in is still suppressing price. So like this 165 to 163 area is kind of a decision point right now, because this is where the cluster of all large sell transactions are. So when we come into this range, do you see the sellers backing it up, or are they willing to let it go? And like, again, I don't want to short this here because of the shape of the distribution and then the overall bullish narrative that we kind of have developing based off the weekly distributions. All right, we're towards the top of the weekly value area. Like we had a pretty quick rejection out of the weekly value area and prices came back pretty quickly in. But I mean, if you were having a heavy sales here, 165 to 163. Is this the price action you would want following up your large transactions? Like this barely slowly attempt to grind lower? Probably not. So I am very tempted to buy right into them, depending if a bunch of volume were to come in right here and lift price, just like it just did here. And potentially I can entertain a test of the highs, right? Right here. All right, so I'm going to buy a little at 7162, just quarter position. I'll stop it at 156 catastrophic. So in at 162 quarter position. All right, kind of bad fill, but just because of this volume that came in here and this low volume area, you're not pushing very far away from these cells. We clear this, you can run the highs, I think. But if we're wrong on the shape of the distribution for today, if this is just a normalized distribution, this trade's not going to work. You want the volume to be lifting price here. It's trying to. It's trying to. All this activity on the bid, and you're not really breaking down a whole lot. So I want us to close up here, though. You're not going to do it. Yeah, they're not really lifting price out of here very well, are they? No. No, not at all. All right, try to get out at 159 if we get a rotation up. See what happens with this volume. All right, cancel that 159 limit. If we stay above here, I might regret closing that, but this is a quarter position. Long at 162, stop at 156. Yeah, it'll hit the stop for sure. Yeah, that's when we're out. Okay. Yeah, we thought this was looking good right here in this low volume area, but the sellers held. No large transactions outside the 163 to 165 area. So they did hold it. Bearish flow for sure. But then getting back to what we talked about right before the open is that we had kind of wanted more 140 area for a long. Yeah, so no sellers followed that up. All right, they didn't follow that down. So now we're like kind of right in the middle of this weekly value cluster. Yeah, I think we just leave it alone for a minute. Because we're certainly not quickly rejecting this out of value area and snapping back into value. Right, the weekly structure might have a bullish thesis, but this is a very bearish environment. Check the news flow, make sure nothing crazy is going on. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. A lot of volume coming in here at the lows, lifting price, getting pretty good divergence number. But we're coming in much lower. I mean, we broke the buyer absorption here at 159. So this will be a little bit of a decision point. More sellers at 152. So right there at the lows. So they sold 163, 165er, and then another seller came in at 152. $153. Yeah, it seems pretty clean. It looked clean from yesterday too. So if you were going to sell again, this would be the point in which you would do it if you were a seller. It's right in the bottom of the buyer absorption zone. Yeah, we'll see what happens if we come up on the underside, like kind of right here. But I mean, these guys are pretty vulnerable. All these sells right in here. I guess the first one was at 166 because this guy got trapped at the lows. So you do see the seller stepping in at the point where we thought you would step in, right? So if you were having a short overall thesis, this is your entry point here. And then you're hoping for a run of these lows. But all the volume that comes in here just lifts price. I don't think that's a very good idea. So again, I still like the idea overall of taking longs rather than shorts, but I mean, this is bearish flow. That's just overwhelming the market right here. And kind of like this area is like the decision point right here. And it's 161 now, this flip point. All right, this is where all the sellers were active. Like they pushed the price down pretty hard, but I mean, this is a strong rejection off the lows. This happened very quick. Like part of me wants to put a piece on here along and then stop it here at like 154, tight stop on just a quarter piece. Just because I think these sellers up here are going to be under tremendous pressure now. But I really want to see the volume come in and start like lifting price out of this low volume kind of area, this little dip right here. I want to see if we're going to be filling this in structurally, or are we going to be resisting it? So just be patient with it. Yeah, I get the impression that we're filling this in more than resisting it. And if you look at the weekly distribution, that makes sense. Right, this is in a low volume area on the weekly distribution. So let's see what happens when we come down here towards these lows again. Because this is the area that the market found support at yesterday. This is 145 area down here. And so if we may try to make an attempt out of value again and it's quickly rejected, I think we can take it long. Because I mean, I feel like the sellers are just doing a terrible job moving price away from here, and all the volume that's coming here is just lifting price. I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. All right, so we'll start buying 156.75. Stop it at 50.5. Again, quarter position. Keep it light until we start seeing more construction. I don't know what the word, more structure out of this. Because we're getting long, right? Before we're really getting through this area. This is the area you have to get through to really prove that you're long. This area of large sellers right here. But we're resisting the new POC, this large volume kind of distribution right here. I would like to see us break this again, right? This is the inflection point here, this 161. I want to see us come up and come back down, try to test it back into value and be unable to do so, and then we'll add. But right now, quarter position. And then depending on how we behave, getting up towards the value area high, depends what I do with the trade. All right, with the volume coming here is suppressing price at 160, the inflection point. So wide stop, 50.5 to ward against any volatility. But I want to see us get above this little volume, right? The volume coming in here at 160 is holding things down. No large transactions, no buyers, no sellers. Last one was at 152. All right, that guy's trapped. Most of the large transactions are happening in between 165 and 160. And 165 to 162, I think, is a little more precise. So I don't want to move the stop on this until, because we're at long at 56 and 3/4 down here. I want to see what happens when you get into the, like, kind of this area right here. If there's just heavy selling, just, yeah, we'll stop the trade. We'll get out. I mean, the distribution right now for the day just looks like a balanced range. I mean, there just could be a lot of chop in here. And then, you know, maybe just getting out at like 160 is all we're going to get out of this. But I like this. This is quick rejection. We attempted to get out of value, just did not get anywhere. All right, the sellers are, this is the inflection point for the day, right? So let's see what happens when we come back down here towards our entry point. If the volume comes in and lifts price up against towards us, because we're flat topping this. These aren't quick rejections from this area. If sellers were just like absolutely willing to destroy you, they'd just be selling relentlessly right here and you quickly reject. Time rejection tells you a lot. Quick rejections tell you a lot. Quick rejection, quick rejection. All right, all the volumes coming in, lifting price. I kind of want to add to this a little bit, because I do think we snap these sellers here. All right, more volume coming in, lifting price. I want to see us hold this kind of area, especially not come back down towards this. All volume to come in should be lifting price here. So now you want to kind of close above this number. So you're not doing a very good job of resisting this. There you go. That's better. That's better. Much better. Good absorption. Volume came in, lifted price. All right, I'm going to add to it. Build at 59.5. So average is 58.25. Stop 53 on everything. And just because these repeated rejections right here. This is the area of inflection. You're not quickly moving away from this. There's absorption coming into the number. They're trying to break these sellers here. You break them, there's going to be a nice move. All right, so I like the probabilities of this trade. It could absolutely come down and stop us out at 153 and then continue higher. They could absolutely do that. But the volume that's coming in here is lifting price. They're trying to break this. All right, you got absorption here. You got absorption here. This is the battle right here. Who's going to win this battle? I like buyers win this battle because of the quick rejections out of value back towards value. Right? Yeah, you're getting some quick rejections up here, but look how quick this happened. You know, all the volume that came in and lifted price. and this seller is underwater. So ideally, we want to see a run up to this volume at 169, ideally. But it'll be telling what happens when you get towards the value area high, this previous absorption area, this 163. All right, they're leaning, sellers are leaning on this right here. They're both leaning on this. Buyers and sellers are both leaning on price right here. I like the probability. If we get stopped out, it makes a run down to 153. The sellers just overwhelm things, right? That's, that's the trade, right? I think probability is on our side. If we get stopped, we get stopped. I mean, could we make a case for our stop to be just a little bit lower outside of value? Yeah, probably. But because of this volume cluster right here, that happens inside of value, I think we're protected with our stop right at value. And you want all volume that comes in anywhere down here to lift price. You don't want price to close below any volume that comes in here, because otherwise it's gonna come straight down. And we're in a half position. Average price is 58 and a quarter. So we still remain pretty constructive here with the volume coming in and lift in price, but you got to break this seller absorption here at 160. Again, I think the odds are in our favor that you break them. I think we break higher before you break lower. This was a quick rejection off the lows, and we spent a lot of time outside of value up here. The market was more accepting of price up here than it was down here. We quickly rejected out of this areas, but you have to get through these people. If we snap these, I'll go to break even at 58 and a quarter, maybe 58 and a half, but you got to break through this without wicking it. And you want, that's what you want. All right, so now we're out of value. So now move stop to 58 and a half on the full half position. Let's see where the volume comes in here. If a heavy volume comes in here and suppresses price, we're stopping aggressively. Let's see where we close relative to this volume that's coming in. See, the volume's coming in. Now, where do you finish? Is it going to push it back down? Yeah, it's pushing it back down. Yeah, damn it. So I really don't want to exit all of it. Right, because this is potentially a place you would add to your trade is right here. Like, I'm willing to let this play out back to my entry, 58.50. All right, I think this is a good stop. You can make the argument for 159 full stop, 59 and a half even, right? I don't think you come back into this range if you're bullish. So we'll compromise, do 59 and a quarter, right? Just take a little bit of profit. But this should be a spot that we should now resist. If we're bullish, volume should come in here and lift price. Volume came in here and it did hold up price a little bit. But now I want to see it stay out of value, right? I want volume that comes in here to still lift price. Any volume that comes in here and suppresses price, we're out of the trade. All of it. Because we're still battling the distribution shape, I feel like, right? This is a very normalized distribution now. It doesn't get any more normalized than this, right? Full stop 160. There's a volume that's coming up here, or like we can't get above it. That's not good. Like you're kind of broke them, but you're not able to break out of value now. Yeah, all this volume is coming in. It's holding you down. So full stop is at 160 or below the top of the range, right? It would have to get below this wick pretty cleanly. Yeah, here it comes. Yeah, I think, yeah, we're fighting the distribution, I think. Yeah, stopped out at 160. So in average 58 and a quarter, average price out at 160 stop, right? We just now dipped back into this range and dipped a little, probably too far. The volume comes in here. Let's see what happens with the volume that comes in here. Yeah, you didn't stay above it. Yeah, normalized distribution, folks. Normalized distribution. Okay, we're battling against the shape of the distribution. If we come back here, then the plan trade is just mean reversion, scalp back to the POC. All right, because we can't get outside of value here. This is a pretty quick rejection outside of the value. And now quickly rejected outside value to the downside. Look at the shape of the distribution. Yeah, like we don't really want to be fighting the shape of the distribution here. Right, we're balancing here. No, buyers and sellers are not willing to agree on taking things in one direction. Don't have a lot of large transactions either. Had a seller up at 164, sold the highs. So sellers are leaning in up there. And now you're back below this absorption area. So we'll see what happens here if bulls step in again at the value area lows. Like I don't mind re-engaging a long down at 154-ish. I don't necessarily want to re-engage here and then try to get it up to 164. I feel like that's too tight. And I don't want to sell 164s just based off the overall bullish narrative that we kind of have going. So this just could be Chop City now. Chop City. No news. Yep, no news. No news at all. So let's just be patient. We're not going to make up another play off a break to the highs. I don't think. Right, you couldn't cleanly break this. That sell zone where all large transactions are kind of falling in. Like they're every time you get into this area, they're selling. So more sells at 160. Again, flashes more seller absorption. Like the order flow here is just, it's not overwhelmingly bearish for this being a sell area. I mean, look at the trend on the weekly chart. We're just slowly grinding higher. Yeah, you're absorbing on the sell side, but you're doing so at higher prices. So I want to allow this to give me a better area in which to trade from. I don't want to trade here at the POC again. All right, we got in lower and then averaged higher, looking for a break at the value area high, and you didn't get it. But I mean, the inability of this market to get below the POC. Every time we get down here, the volume comes in and lifts price. Like, part of me wants to put a piece on, right? Because you're getting the order flow resisting coming back into this balanced area, but the distribution shape doesn't favor that trade. It favors the mean reversion trades. And this is the dichotomy of trading. It's like you get conflicting signals. Like order flow is telling you to do one thing, but shapes of distribution are telling you to do another thing. All right, like the volume here that's coming in at the POC is not pushing price down. It's lifting price. We're struggling to get back into this prior range. So yeah, there could be a snap out of it, right? It comes down, it stops us out, traps us, gets us out, and then proceeds to do exactly what we thought it was going to do. right? Because this isn't a short. It's just a matter of like, where do you get a better long? And I would like a long better down here because it'll fit the mean reversion narrative as well as a potential continuation narrative. It'll be a good launch point to take things higher. But I mean, yeah, the sellers are responsive here, but they're not taking the initiative to drive this lower. But this is a big inflection point here. So I don't want to get chopped up just trading in this area right now. I want more clarity. So making another test of the value area highs. Now let's see if we quickly snap back into value or if we hold out of it. I mean, I'm curious what happens here as you come back into value. Because we're breaking the seller absorption, right? The sellers will capitulate. This is the seller area right here. This is that 164, 165 right down here. This is all large sell volume right here. You hold above this, you come back into this area, hold it, resist it, value comes in, list price out. And then you could break the balance. If we come back down into value hard with heavy volume, that pushes price down, then it is mean reversion, but we're not selling it. Because prices are slightly drifting upwards now. So if there's a heavy attempt to push things lower back into value and a lot of volume comes in and lifts us back out of value, I mean, you can at least target the highs, at least, if not a potential breakout of the range for the week. Right? Because we've been consolidating around this 160 area now for 2 days. All the sellers are now underwater. You're not immediately rejecting this and coming back in. Every time my news screen moves at all, I'm like, yeah, I mean, volume's coming in, it's holding things up where we're struggling to get back into value, right? And the question becomes, where would you put your stop if you got in here? It's probably below this. $10.27, no large transactions since 10.21. I want a stronger attempt back into value, right? You're barely touching the top of this previous range here. I want like a good hard test down here in the 163s. Like a lot of volume to come in and potentially drive prices lower and a quick snap out. The quickness of the snap is the tell. And you're resisting this. Sellers are absorbing this, but is it a quick snap back out and back into value? No. So here's going to be the heavy volume test. Let's see where the volume comes in. Damn new screen. Volume came in, push price lower. You're back now within value. Volume coming in. So are we holding price down or are we going to lift it out? Yeah, now you've gone too far. Yeah, it's mean reversion. Right? As I say that, it's like, just wait, bro. Just wait. No large transactions with the move. New screen keeps faking me out. Like, I like that you're resisting getting back towards the point of control here. I like that the volume's coming up and the top of the value range is pushing you, trying to push you back out of value. But the fact that you came this deep back into value is worrisome, right? Because this value area high aligns with this kind of swing range point here. That would have been the better spot to launch from, right? A test down back into this range, and like the wick being right in this range at 163. This wick is, I feel like, a little too low for you. And again, this distribution for the day is very normative, right? This is a tight range, 171 down to 150-ish, like 20-point range on an S&P distribution after an hour of US trading. That's pretty narrow. Like, can you take a long here at the POC? Yeah, it's probably a pretty weak long. Probabilities are not strong, I don't think, because we're at the POC. We're looking like this is a normalized distribution. We're not holding the tops of swing points on any extenuation of the range. Buyer at 161.5. Right at that POC. So again, flirting with the top of this value range. Can we make a definitive break out of it and hold it? And the volume that comes in, can it hold you out of the value range? I mean, absorption is happening at higher prices. Buy absorption is happening at higher prices. The trend and the flow is bullish. The narrative overall on TPO auction theory structure is bullish. The distribution for the day is neutral. That tends to be a little bit of a hang up right now. Is that this distribution does not have the earmarks of wanting to break out. It has the earmarks of a launch pad to break out at a later point in time, but it's like it's building that launch pad right now. The volume that comes in out of value is suppressing price. Like, we want to know when things come. We'll know when this auction is complete, when the attempts to get back into value are quickly rejected on heavy volume. Right? When you get tight, normalized distributions like this is the market finishing up the auction. And then it goes in a direction to find a new area of balance. Volume coming in is trying to lift things away from the value area. Like, we're not taking mean reversion trades short. Right? It doesn't match what we're seeing here. We got bullish flow. Bullish narrative with the TPO and the auction theory structure. And you're struggling to get out of value, though. All right, and this is the distribution fighting you for the day. Buyer at 165. 161. The 165 just happened. So big size bought here at 165. All the sellers are underwater at this point. Buyer at 169.25. So now I'm interested in retests of this area, this 164 area. All right, all this volume that came in here at 165. If they truly want to launch this out, they'll start holding up price here, probably at 165, where all this volume's coming in. But look at the volume that came in at 168, just pushed everything right back down. Again, normalized distribution, folks. We're, as much as we want to fight this, right, with all our narratives and the bullish order flow, it's just, if there's a lack of market participants to provide liquidity up here, market is just, price is not sustainable. You need buyers and sellers here to hold up the price. And you lack one, price will move to where you find both. The march higher is continuing. They're trying. They're trying. And you're hanging outside of value here. That's pretty bullish. Right now, we just need a logical entry point if we want to even think about going long in a normal distribution, especially from value. So this is kind of the point you would suspect volume to come in and resist you from getting back into the value area. If this auction is complete, if we're done, they'll be willing to buy it up here, which you kind of just had happen a little bit. But there is an element of chase to this now. Because these are the very tough trading decisions. Sometimes it's like it's pretty easy when the flow matches the narrative and the distribution structure matches all of the above. This you get conflicting signals. You have bullish narrative, bullish flow, but a distribution that's not indicative of higher prices. Crude is flat today. Treasuries are flat today. Gold is flat today. What is the news for tomorrow, 24th? University of Michigan consumer sentiment, and that's it, and then inflation expectations. So buyers are trying to absorb things higher. They're trying to prevent you from getting back into value. They're trying to trap all these sellers underwater here. The volume that's coming in here is you're getting a little bit of mixed signal. It's suppressing price here. Volume is suppressed, volume suppressed, volume looks like it's now suppressing again. Right? You want the volume that was coming in here to uplift price. If this is truly bearish, you're going to really struggle to get back here into value. You'll get quick rejections out, lots of volume. All right, we're articulating what it is that we want to see before it happens. All right, we're setting the conditions and the expectations and the probabilities for our trade before it happens. I don't want to emotionally react to something. And like this is an area I'm interested in potentially getting long here and fighting this distribution shape, right? Because if it is the launch pad for higher prices, we've got bullish flow. It's just this isn't very overwhelming to me. Like, okay, yeah, fight this with this order flow. I want to fight it with overwhelming bullish order flow. All right, because this looks kind of clean right here. This looks to be complete. All right, but I need to use the restroom. Be right back. Bam, bam, bam. But you see where that volume comes in and still suppresses price? Like if you were just a price action trader and we're just trading candlesticks, you'd be like, oh my God, that's bullish right there. But it's not, because the volume came in above it and suppressed price. And say now those people that were like, oh, this is so bullish, just got fucking trapped. All the volume that's still coming in up here is suppressing price. If we get a lot of volume coming in here and lifting price out, and we now close back up into this, that would be ideal. You don't really want to close below that. And the fact that all its volume is coming in is not quickly rejecting price. Yeah. So mean reversion continues, normalized distribution, not going anywhere, folks. All right, I had to make myself a couple of notes for later. Baseball practice tonight. One of my kiddos. Yeah, these buyers at 169 and a quarter got trapped. Jeez, what a terrible, terrible thing to do. I literally bought the tick high. Oops. Yeah, I don't suspect that we're going to be doing anything more. This is a normalized distribution, right? I don't want to fade these back into value because of the bullish narrative. The only potential scalp I would take is if we were out of value to the bottom and then take it back up, because then that would align with the bullish narrative. Right, but I mean, this is a very tight. Look at the TPO chart. Look at this balance that we've got here around 160 now. Like either we break out later today or we break out tomorrow, probably. Right, we've developed a nice balance range. We've already tested lower, didn't find any balance. Got good balance here. Now we're gonna do price discovery higher to find balance. That's what the probabilities are telling you with auction theory. Now we're just waiting for all the stars to align. We want bullish flow, bullish thesis, and a bullish distribution. And that is not what you have today. You have a very neutral distribution where value area highs are rejected and value area lows are rejected. Any attempts out here will just fall back into value. Any attempts down here will come back into value. It's a scalper market. I'm not adverse to scalping. It's just this is a pretty tight range for the day. I mean, there's a at maximum 20-point range on a distribution. That's crazy. And you start to see on the weekly distribution how clean this ledge is getting. Like this is a complete auction, it looks like to me. We're going to move away from this pretty soon, I would think. And I think the probabilities are that we test higher rather than testing lower. And you also have now prices banging around in the top half of the distribution. Bullish. Oh. My headphones are in the wrong place in my hat. Volume coming in here at top of the value area. Bearish, pushing prices lower. So nothing for us to do at the moment, just watch and observe. The only potential trade I can see happening within the next like 10 minutes is run down to the very area low that gets rejected. Or potentially even a run in this POC that gets rejected. Because while you've rejected the value area highs, the speed in which you've rejected it and the fact that you keep on revisiting it, like it's not extremely bearish. The flow still remains pretty bullish. It's just you're getting these overlapped rotations. You're getting the build of value and volume here. And see what happens when we come down into these 161s again. See if volume continues to come in and try to lift price here. It is, for the most part. So again, making another run for this value area high. Volume that's coming in here is also lifting price. Yeah, I mean, you get the impression this market wants to do the test now. Like, you cannot get back below this POC at all. Right, since essentially 10 o'clock. We've been fighting getting below it. And sellers have had to accept higher and higher prices here. And buyers are willing to meet them. So let's see if we get that test down into this 164. Like, this is probably the top I'm willing to buy at. And then crossing the fingers based on this distribution shape. All right where all this volume is, that held down price, invert that. Let's see. But I'm not buying up here. I'm not buying at the highs. Even like, ugh. There's a lot of things telling you that this market wants to break higher, but you just like, you got to get a decent price for it, just in case you're terribly wrong, right? If a bunch of volume just comes in here again and just suppresses price again, which could absolutely just happen. All right, just keep letting buyers lift price into this area and then just smack them. Yeah, gosh darn. And we're talking about loading up down here and we didn't. And then we went on a test of 164, didn't get it. Now you're extending the highs of the distribution. Doesn't feel like a breakout though. Just feels like a slight range extenuation. I don't think we made any money today. I think we broke even after transactions. See, now you're willing to accept kind of a test of 167 as a potential launch point instead of coming all the way back down to 164. Because coming back to 164 would be slightly bearish, I would think. So I kind of like this area. If you see a bunch of volume coming at 167, we'll take a small position and play for the break. We'll be willing to engage at the top of a normalized distribution. Because the order flow is bullish, narrative is bullish. Volume that's come in is at least held down price. This volume that comes in here, what does it now do? You're getting very heavy range overlaps. Like, we're retreating pretty heavily into prior ranges. Yeah, so the volume's coming in, it's holding up price. It's trying to. We're getting some buyer divergence. Yeah, damn. It's like, do you want to go long here? Do you? Do you really? All right, I'll put a piece in at 167.5. Is that where that volume is? And stop it at 163. Tight stop, quarter position, precarious long. Just because it came back into an area that I said I was looking to be interested at getting in long at. It's not going to fill us though, because we're right at where the volume is, I think. I'll move it up one tick. Yeah, it's now going to fucking take off without us, you fucking motherfucker, yo! Fuck you, yo. Fuck you, yo. or it's going to save us. All right, where's the volume coming in at? Are we lifting or are we suppressing? Are we still fighting a normalized distribution here, folks? And that's not really what you want to see. I have my finger over to cancel this limit order. Yeah, cancel it. All that volume that just came in just suppressed it. We come down here, volume comes in again and lifts it, but just because of what that just did, because all this volume that comes up here towards the top of the distribution is still fighting you. It's still fighting you. So I want a better launch point. Plus, we wouldn't have gotten filled yet anyway. $10.50, you got 10 minutes. Still willing to sneak some kind of quarter position trade in here, but we need the market to give me something. Yeah, still all the volume coming up here at 169 is just suppressing things. So yeah, I think we're right to just cancel the limit order, trying to get long here at the top of the distribution, because even though the top of this distribution is weak to longs, it's just there's still enough seller volume up here that it's just not an overwhelming, compelling case to take a long here at this time, at this part of this type of distribution. And then the volume comes in again right at the value area high. Yeah, they probably do break them. All right, volume came in pretty much at the same spot, 167. Yeah, you can rumba. Yeah, watch it break now. You can't get it back into value at all. Quick rejections. The volume coming in towards the lows, at least right here. If we get the opportunity one more time, yeah, we'll do it. But we're running out of time. And we're not quickly rejecting these highs. We're just flat topping them, which means they get broken. Swing highs are at 185. But I doubt the market lets you get back here to get in on this break if they break it. All seller absorption this morning has been broken repeatedly. Other than what we're running into here at the 267 absorption right here. That happened at 949. So you're still getting a little bit of heavy absorption in the same spot, but now you broke them. Buyers at 170 and 3/4. Yeah, gosh darn it. Lots of activity on the offer. But does the volume come in and again hold down price, or does it lift it? If it's a breakout, it's going to lift it. If it's just a slight extenuation of the range, it'll suppress it. So it looks like it's holding it up for the moment. Yeah, I don't think we now got the opportunity. That was it. And this is just like a slight range break. This doesn't seem like the final break. Right, I think you would get more volume being built here if this was the break, for sure. The volume that's coming in the 170s is suppressing. Oh. There's a buyer at 170 and 3/4. No more sellers. Sellers stopped. Highs of the sellers were 166. Volume is coming in, continuing to push prices higher. Yeah, it stinks. But we were right to cancel that limit order here. Right, we've got it filled by 2 ticks because this volume that came in here and pushed things back down towards value area high. And now you finally get your breakout. Damn. I mean, we're absolutely right on everything. Just we didn't trade it as best as we could, I don't think. Or maybe we did, and it was just unfortunate based off market activity, right? To shake us out of the long right here, the potential long. And then we got long down here and long here, but then got shaken out here. Yeah, we'll review it and see if we can have traded that any better than we did, but absolutely right on where the flow is taking us, what the narrative is, what potentially was going to happen today, all spot on. But it still doesn't feel like a break though, right? Right, you're not getting a ton of volume being built up here. You're getting some volume, but it's, I mean, you're just not getting the very quick rotations that you would expect in a breakout market. Like it'll rotate very fast, lots of volume added, failure to reclaim any low volume areas. That'll be very well defined. And just doesn't seem to be running away, but damn. Yeah, so I think we can cut the stream a couple minutes early because there's not going to be a retrade. We're definitely not shorting this. We had no intention of ever shorting this today based off what the distributions were telling you over the last few days. So, and I don't think this will go back into any structured place where I'd want to take it long, to be quite honest with you, because that would be down here at 170, I think. I don't think that happens in the next 3 minutes. And even if it did, I probably wouldn't trade it. But now, yeah, we've broken all seller absorption or just now grinding higher. Eventually, I think we fall back into value at some point today. Because again, I'm not getting the breakout vibes from this, right? The volume that's coming in is at the top of the range, right? See how continually it's at the top of the range here? Generally, when you get large advances, it's towards the bottom. All right, like that's bullish right there. It's pretty bullish right there. Bullish, bullish, bearish. But just grinding it higher, baby. God damn. This market is relentless. Damn, damn, damn. You tricked me, bearish order flow. You tricked me right here. This is where the trick happened, right there. I wanted to get long right above that. 167 and 3/4 would have got filled right there. Potentially could have reloaded right there. That's a good test of the prior range. Lots of volume comes in and quickly snaps you out. But again, there's probably going to be some overlap here now. I think we now clean this distribution, top this distribution up. I don't think this is the trend to break out you're looking for. We had buyers at 7176. So large institutions are buying this up. They broke the sellers that were down in the 165 to 163 region here, right? We kept on banging up into this region, couldn't get above it really. And then we finally broke it, absorbed the other side, and launched higher. Yeah, I think we should have been more aggressive with our entry here, right? Not being so wishy-washy about this volume coming in and pushing things down outside of value based off what we've been talking about all in this area throughout all this time, where the large sellers were active here, and then you broke them, came back, tested this sort of region, got absorbed, quick snap out. Yeah, I think even just looking at this now, we shouldn't have canceled that. Right, we'd allowed 1 or 2 candles of negative order flow to dissuade us from what was the overall narrative, the overall bearish flow. Snapping the sellers at 165 and in here. Yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, folks. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. All right, well, it's 11 o'clock. Hope you all have a great remainder of your Thursday. I will see everyone bright and early at 9:30 tomorrow morning and see what Friday brings us. All right, God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in.